The following program does not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff, management, ownership of the station. Jay and Janine are expressing their own opinions, and such is not a substitute for psychological or mental health advice. If you are experiencing an emergency, please hang up and call 911.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Momentum Mindset Show, where we're talking everything personal development, coaching, health, and the law. I'm your host, Jay, here with co-host Janine.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Please join us on Facebook, where we can be found at the Momentum Mindset Show. And if you want to call in and be part of the show, we would love to hear from you. It's 888-565-1470. And if being on live radio is not your thing, no problem. Send us your comments and we will interact with you on Facebook.
Let's create some momentum.
And welcome to the Momentum Mindset Show. Happy Friday, everybody. I'm your host, Jay Farrow.
And I am Janine Davis. Welcome, everybody, to the Momentum Mindset Show. And
co-host Janine Davis. You didn't say co-host.
Well.
Or...
I am co-host Janine Davis. That is true. For those of you that don't know, I'm not just awesome. A guest. I'm actually a co-host as well. So welcome, everybody. And we have decided to do a right off the top call to action.
Yes. Okay.
Call us.
Yeah.
Call in if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you don't like my hair. I don't care at this point. Please call in. We would love to hear from you.
What's that number?
We'd love to get some laser coaching. It's 888-565-1470. Please call in and let us know what's on your mind today.
And if you needed to hear that from a male radio voice, that's 888-565-1470. So welcome to the show, everybody. We have a great show, great topics today, and we do want you to call in. Love to hear from you. And we're going to start off with the weekly check-in. And I will say for me, I've been listening back to David Goggins quite a bit this week, and also for the last 21 days, I have not missed the gym one single day. I'm at least there for an hour.
Really?
I've been doing weights every single day, and what that's done for me is to start going back to some fundamentals and some basics. And one of them for the last year has been the inspiration of David Goggins, who's a former Navy SEAL, and what I've been listening to and connected to and been committed to is controlling my mind, controlling my mindset, controlling that voice inside my head that wants me to stop, to quit. I mean, I say it 1,000 times that it's not me who gets me in the car to get to the gym. It's not me that gets me into the car to go to work and actually has me sit down and write the complaints and write the work that we've been doing this last week at the law firm. It's something else. I mean, it's something else completely, because left to my own devices, I mean, I want to stay safe. I want to stay comfortable. I want to stay in bed. For the last 3 weeks, though, I've not listened to that voice. And
that's a huge win, Jay. That's a huge win.
It's a huge win. I mean, there's things that have happened in the last couple of days, especially. I mean, that we've done a tremendous amount of work. And then even again, before we got into the show today, another shoe kind of dropped at the last second, but not letting it affect me like I did. I actually put the song Sailing, that song Sailing Takes Me Away. Yes.
Yeah, from Christopher Cross. Yeah.
It's
such a great song.
I started listening to that song on the radio, and I was like, I'm free. That's what came up for me. I'm free. No matter what just happened at the office, my mind is free to think about whatever I want to on the way over here. I mean, I am not bound by anything. And I started to think to myself, what would have me kick the crap out of myself from now until maybe on Monday because of what just happened, a second ago. And I was like, you know what? It just doesn't make that much sense. So I started to listen to that, and then I started getting into some 80s music.
I've never thought
which,
that
by the way, the 80s just did it right.
I agree with you.
I don't know. Does anybody want to go back to the 80s and just listen to a playlist from YouTube? I mean, Tiffany, the Bangles, Madonna.
You don't have to sell me on it. I love that.
Talking Heads.
Hi, Glennie. Thank you for joining us.
So I just wanted to thank the 80s
Well, what you may not know, because I don't think you hang around teenage kids, obviously, because you don't have any of your own, and your niece and nephew are really very young. But my nieces, I accuse them of stealing my childhood all the time, because
Why?
they listen to 80s and 90s music and know songs by heart.
Really?
Yeah, and they astound me all
You
the
wanna know
time
why?
when I go out with them and I go to we go shopping or whatever. I'm like, oh my God, I used to wear this when I was in high school, and now they're all about it. It's a really interesting thing how things come back.
I'm going to say why.
Why?
Because the music of today is not like the music of yesterday.
Okay.
You know.
Alrighty.
Could you remember, like, when we were growing up, and then our parents would be listening to like some '60s music on the radio, and then there was the '60s stations in South Florida. If you've been here as long as I have, there was like Magic 102.7, and then you had I think that was it. But then you had the Coast. Remember, like 97.3, and anyway. I used to be like making fun of that music. Oh my God, Dad, turn it off. It's so embarrassing. The Beach Boys are coming on and stuff like that. And so I'm encouraged to hear you say this about your nieces.
Which is what astounds me, because usually the modern at modern day kids, like we made fun of our parents, but well, they make fun of us too, but not for the music. The opposite. They're like super enrolled in the music, which is something that surprises me.
That's surprising.
Because, I made fun of my parents' musical choice, even though, funnily enough, my father is the one who introduced me to country music, and I love and adore it. And had it not been for him, I really would not have had that love and hankering for it, but I do. So I'm actually thankful to his musical choices.
So speaking of the exceptional, I had a chance to have a cup of coffee with Janine Robledo last night. And we got reconnected about the piano lessons, about writing music.
Fantastic.
And she just got back from New York, and she was talking about the actors that were on the stage, and she was talking about the difference between some of them and some Broadway actors. And
Sure.
she wasn't saying that they were bad actors, right? But they're actors, obviously, that are on Broadway that are, I guess, more polished because of practice and otherwise, and because they spent more time, doing and honing their craft. And it made me connect to David Goggins, and it made me connect to where I'm at in my journey and what I'm up to and what I'm doing.
I'd like to talk more about that.
Because what I started to see is that I was blaming everybody in my environment for not being the David Goggins of my life. I was waiting for a hero to show up in my life to save me from myself and my mediocre way of doing things. I was waiting
I observed that.
I was waiting for someone.
I observed that in myself, in fact.
I was waiting for someone to show up into the office, because the point is, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I've heard this over and again, that the people that you put into your environment or that you hang out with is the number one reason that you're going to either get to where you want to go, or you play mediocre together. You basically, I buy your BS, you buy mine. We call that a relationship. We'll celebrate mediocrity, and that's it. So I'm like, I want to play with people that are like, I want to play with David Goggins. I want to play with people like that who are running 130-mile marathons in the desert heat. Yeah. That's my thought of I need a hero to help me do that. And then one of the things that he said got me, and it was like checkmate. He's like, there's no one coming for you.
No, he
There's
says that
nobody
a lot.
coming for you. There's nobody coming to save you. There is a God. He is not here with you. He's waiting for you to come, one day, and he's got a pretty interesting take on that. His story was that he was at 297 pounds. He saw himself in the mirror one day at the same time he was watching a show about Navy SEALs. Right.
So for people who may not be familiar with David Goggins, Jay's referring to this gentleman, David Goggins, who put out a book last year around this time called Can't Hurt Me. Right. So that's what you're referencing. So
that's what I'm referencing. So in the story, in the book, he's talking about his journey, and he's talking about what it took for him to become a Navy SEAL, and what he couldn't just go into regular Navy SEAL training. What happened was, he had been in the military for a little bit, but then he was out for a little while, and then he had some kind of a job working nights, killing cockroaches working for this place called Ecolab. And he saw this documentary about Navy SEALs, and he was like, I want that. Yeah. But he was 297 pounds, and so he called I think every recruiter in the country, like a bunch of recruiters, and then
Right. Also, he was overage, kind
Right.
of. He wasn't the average age
Right,
of
he-
the recruits either.
he was a
That
few
wasn't-
years older than them.
Yeah, correct.
He was 297 pounds, which is 100 pounds more than what they would accept in the actual training to actually start Navy SEAL training. So he had 3 months to lose 100 pounds, but worse than that, he had a learning disability that he had never actually dealt with, and his way of studying was that he actually has to write everything out. So there was a test, a test for the military that he had to
SFAB or something.
to pass in order to just do that, and that was more of a challenge than actually losing the weight. So he's talking about what it actually took for him to do that, and to basically go into suffering, to get out of your comfort zone and just be in a world of hurt and pain,
Yeah.
and going through what you need to get through to feel what you're going to feel on the other side of that pain. And he talks about the visualization of graduating. That few seconds of walking the stage in Navy SEAL training was what really pushed him through the year and a half, which it took him to actually graduate this training.
Yes.
And he has done
He had some
things.
very unusual circumstances, and recommend to anybody or everybody to read the book. It's a phenomenal
his
book.
thing is that number one, no one's coming for you. So no one's going to do that work for you.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what you really want, if you want to walk the stage of the Navy SEAL training or whatever your Mount Everest is, if you want to do that, you have to become willing to go through what that is. And he talks about becoming the new norm. When he was in Hell Week and when he was going through the Navy SEAL training, that was the new norm. So when he had broken legs with some fractures on his legs, he duct taped his legs to be able to run through things.
Yeah.
That was his new norm.
Motions, yeah.
And he said that once you get used to that new norm, your body adapts. It will always adapt. Once your mind realizes that you're not going to quit, your body adapts. So I connected to this last year, it was this last January, and ever since then, from time and again, I've known for myself what it's going to take for me to get to the next level. I've known in my bones what it's going to take for me to actually get to where I want to go as far as my personal development, my law practice, myself. And I didn't want to do the work.
Sure.
But I know that there's another piece to that.
Which
I
is?
can't sit on the couch no more. I can't go back. I can't unlearn what I learned in that personal development course 3 years ago. I can't go back I can't go back to sleep is what I'm trying to say. And so
Agreed.
3 weeks ago, after I got out of some pretty bad, like a 2 weeks of a depression, I was like, I'm gonna get back into the gym one day at a time and start hitting it. And then, because I know what that'll do for my mindset. I know what that'll start doing for me, callousing my mind. I know that I'll clear my mind to be able to do the work, the legal work that I can do in my law firm.
Yeah.
So I decided to do that. I decided that no one's coming for me. If I want my environment to shift and change, I have to be the one to change and shift my environment.
Right.
I have to be the one.
Because you're the context of your environment, ultimately.
Right. So I'm the context from that, even from that personal development course. Who I am being will shape my reality.
100%.
So I can't look to the outside world and
Right.
blame you or blame anything happening at the office or blame my parents. It doesn't work that way.
It never worked that
Because
way.
my
Right.
mind, if my mind is talking, it's BSing me. My mind has nothing to say but to get me comfortable. My mind is the ultimate devil that's trying to get me to go
Well, I
back
think it's
to a
your
life that I
ego
don't
mind. It's your ego
want. It's not.
mind.
It's,
kinda.
I don't know if it's ego mind because this is a mind that's telling me no, you don't want. It's talking me out of my greatness. I don't. Is that
Well,
the ego mind?
that's the ego mind.
It's possible.
100%, because I think that sometimes you think that your ego is what is pushing you to greatness, and sometimes there can be an element of that. I do think that, actually, because the ego is not 100% destructive 100% of the time, but the ego is also telling you that part of your mind that wants to keep you safe, that really ancient part of you, that survival part of you, wants to keep you comfortable at all costs. It wants to make you right. You've got these
Right about being comfortable.
Exactly. Right about being comfortable and just right about being right. Whatever it is, like let's say you wanted to blame someone, your brain will manufacture 110 stories to make you right. All the time. And then you'll seek evidence for it constantly. Whether it's real or not, it's just the way it is. Because it has the need to survive. Those stories serve the purpose of the ego to keep you safe, to keep you small, to keep you on the couch or whatever the thing
Right,
will be,
so this
or
is-
to keep you angry, or to keep you whatever it is.
Right, that's
Right, because your poison
Yes,
is angry.
yes.
Now, we discussed this the last week, which I thought was really interesting. And again, in doing we do different things, and we end up somehow, some way, because we haven't really talked about this much, but kind of circling around. Because this week I've been studying. Well, anyway, I'm a big fan of Goggins, no matter what. But also, I study a lot Ed Milet, who is has a similar way of thinking. And one of the things that he was saying, because I also got myself back to working out every single day, but I started slowly. Like 2 weeks, I did 3 to 4 days of walking. This week, I've done every single day, waking up anywhere between 5 and 5:30 in the morning, and getting myself down to do my tapes, and then walking on top of that, like hardcore. Because by the way, I have like a very specific vision. But so Ed Milet this week, one of the things that he was saying, and this guy is jacked. He's really, really fit. I mean, he's a big man, right? And one of the things he's saying is like, look, it's never not going to hurt. As fit as I am, the gym is never not going to hurt.
right. I like it.
And my brain knows it. And it's a struggle all the time. But what he translates that to is we can accept that for people who are really into fitness. They can accept that for the gym. He's like, where else can you take that same skill of doing the extra rep, going the extra mile, tearing that muscle down in order for it to deconstruct and get bigger? Where can you take that same skill into your life, in work, in relationship, in whatever? And he gave this amazing analogy about a piñata.
Okay.
And about how, like, you hit the piñata, and kids get, like, frustrated that the piñata doesn't break, but ultimately it breaks and you get the candy. Are you going to be the one smart enough, strong enough, have enough resilience to stick around for the candy? And I think so much about our cases because, good Lord, every now and then I'm like, but and today I got really annoyed with certain things that happened, really annoyed, in fact. Actually angry. It was more like a la J flavor angry that I don't usually experience. But then I calmed myself down on the way here, and I was like, you know what? Keep hitting that piñata, Janine. Stay long enough for that candy to come. You can do it. You can do it. And he talks a lot about that resilience that it requires. And that's what I observe that you're creating.
Okay. I want to continue this on the other side of this break. And don't let me forget something. Just say, Jay, I'm supposed to remind you. Just do that piece.
Stay with
We'll
us,
be right back.
everybody.
Farrow Law Firm, standing up to corporate bullies, using innovative, aggressive, and effective strategies to resolve disputes effectively and timely. Contact us at 954-252-9818, online at farrowlawfirm.com, and on Facebook at Farrow Law Firm. We look forward to being of service to you.
You've been listening to the Momentum Mindset Show.
With Jay and Janine, give us a call at 888-565-1470. And now back to the show.
Welcome back to the Momentum Mindset Show.
Welcome back, everybody.
Were you supposed to tell me something?
I'm supposed to remind you to say something.
Okay. Okay. So there's actually a couple things, so this is not fair. You had mentioned something about taking this. You said something's not going to hurt, right? It's always going to hurt.
It's always going to hurt.
Okay. And
It's never not going to hurt.
And that's what, I mean, Goggins says the same thing. I mean, when he talks about the breaking of legs, and then he actually wrote, he actually duct taped his legs. And I was told to break a leg before the show. Thank you. But here's the thing. I experience this every single morning before I go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, eat my oatmeal, and then something tells me, that bed. If you go for 15 minutes and meditate, that's what we're going to meditate right now.
Yeah.
Then something else comes like, well, it's Tuesday. Technically, this should be your day off, right? Because if you're going to do it for the next couple of days and you're going to get up early and then hit it tomorrow, then we can actually, you know what? Why don't we just get the extra couple hours of sleep, and then because you owe yourself that sleep debt, don't you? Remember that stuff, that science that you read about sleep debt, and now we can go and get this 2 hours back into your sleep debt, and so now you're going to be able to be focused more when you get to work. I have to fight through that every single day. The same yuckiness, the same whatever that is, exists as I'm going from when I get to the office. I park my car, I open the door, and from the time I set foot outside of that car to the time I get into my chair is that yuckiness. And that same feeling is when I get into that chair and I look around, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm at the gym, and I've done this before. I just left, not often, but I've done it. Where, man, I'm not really feeling this today. I don't know where to start. Because look at, I got all these things to work out, which is like my emails, the bigger projects, the letters, the phone calls, the appointments. And I just stare at something. I'm like, you know what? I really don't have that much to do today, if I really think about it.
I think you love to say that.
No,
and it's never true because you have a ton to do.
It's the same voice that tries to talk me out of going to the gym. So something works. There's another human being that throws me into the car and there's times where I stay like 5 foot away from the gym door. I'll stop. And then all these conversations, that's, and then someone will come and open the door for me sometimes, and I'm like, and they give me that look, and I'm like, oh, all right, so I got to go in there. But other than that, there is this same whatever that is that happens when I go to work. So you mentioned it to a number of domains in your life: relationship, work, working out. I'm saying that I connect to that. And so I started to dissect that this week. I'm like, what is that all about? Why is it it's the same exact feeling that I feel, the same conversations? You don't have that much to do. Anyway, you can go to that couch and take a nap, or, don't you want to get something to eat right now? I mean, because if we eat right now, then we can eat, then you can have your cup of coffee, and then you'll be ready for work, and then you'll be, then you now eat your half avocado, because that's brain food. And once you have your brain food, then wait 22 minutes after the brain food, and then you're going to be able to start working, and you're going to be good. Never ever happens. And then I get a phone call, and I do this distraction and this distraction. I look at the clock. It's 2:00, and it's 2:00, and like the day's over. Then I start beating myself up because the day's over, and then I go into this spin. Now, over the last 3 weeks, I start to work on Sundays. I start to do a little work before I get to work. Before I get to work, I know exactly what I'm planned to do for that day. Mm-hmm. And whether I like it or not, I got to force myself into it. And what I recognize is that once I work on for something for about 20, 30 minutes, it starts to feel like the gym.
Yeah. You kind of get that stride.
You start to get the stride. I start to feel better. But all of this starts the day before.
Yeah.
And it starts in the morning when I get to the gym and I have that win. And then I can get into work and actually get it done. Because otherwise, you go up and do this same thing day in, day out until I come up, something's due on Friday, it's now Thursday night. And then something else kicks in.
Oh, yeah.
Then it becomes the fear of missing the deadline that pushes me across the finish line to get something done.
Right.
Okay? And so that would be, I mean, if you want to talk to 1,000 lawyers, we're going to get to like 999, same story. About coming up to the deadline, and it's Thursday night, and then you do what you can, and then you go in, and then here's the thing, you win your hearing. You win whatever's going on. And then it's like, oh, look how smart I am. And I'm sure it happens to all of us. I mean, when we procrastinate, it's like, oh, look, it only took me 2 days to write that paper.
Right.
When I was in law school, my first semester of law school, it was during exam period, and I was cramming. And I was outside of the library, and I saw a law student. He was a second year. He's on his bike, and he's just riding through campus. And I think he did it for a psychological thing. I think he did. He just said, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm studying, dude. It's like, we got, the exam. He's like, what have you been doing all semester long?
Is this like a Boris conversation?
Oh my God. And I just remembered this the other day, and I remember the guy riding a bike, and I'm like, what a schmuck. I mean, for him to be like, have the gall. I mean, here's like a couple of students we're first year students. And this guy looked completely relaxed. I mean, he looked like he had just like all the time in the world, and he didn't have a care in the world. Now, I didn't know his name, and I don't know how well he was doing in school and whatever. But he wasn't stressed.
What was the point of him saying? Did he elaborate on what did you do all semester?
What were you doing all semester long? He didn't need to elaborate. I understood.
No, I understood too.
I was
but
out
I was
drinking beer with my friends. I was doing everything but studying.
Right.
Now, in law school, you have to kind of do some work on a daily basis. So there's you're about to go to class, so you have about 4 to 6 cases that you need to know, like you have to read.
Right.
But then there's you could read these books that have the synopsis of the cases.
Right.
So
Like the Cliff Notes.
The Cliff Notes. The Cliff Notes for law school. I mean, come on. I mean, it's the United States of America.
Oh my God.
It's it wasn't law school for dummies necessarily, but it just gave you. I mean, it gave you a synopsis of a case, and so it was kind of like cheating. But it was it was either it was either that or if you get called on and you don't know. I mean, you don't
humiliation to the max.
It's and I've seen it and I saw it happen and I just didn't want to be part of that. So there was a certain amount of work that you have to do, and then there was a couple days where I walked in and I didn't know anything and I never got called on, thank God. But the guy had a point. What were you doing all semester long?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And I thought to myself, for a very brief moment, I didn't think to myself, he's right. I'm like, what a schmuck. Why is he, what do I do? Of course, I was busy. No, I wasn't. I didn't know what busy was in law school. I didn't know what, not, being busy. So I thought about this kid this week, and I had the same thought. It's
so
with the cases that we have coming up and all the work that we have to do is completely 100% manageable. And so I told myself this, Jay, I got your back for a couple of weeks, okay, for a month. I want you to start working out your muscle of working and writing, legal work. Mm-hmm. And I know that you're not going to get there overnight. I know that it's going to take an hour here, up to 3, then take it easy for that day, okay? Then go up to 4 hours and start stretching yourself and go back and do it. And if you put something in front of you, get it done. I started writing for the website. The website thing took me 3 hours to write, I think 8 paragraphs. And then rewrite it and then rewrite it and rewrite it.
Sure. But it is practice. You're speaking into things that require a certain level of habit and focus that you have struggled with.
I said,
and
absolutely. Absolutely.
I completely listen. I have observed you when you're in flow, both in work and in writing. Like, for instance, when you write for Facebook, which, welcome back, I hope you keep it up. And when you are in flow, and so now I know certain tells. Like when I hear that thing clack and I'm like, okay, not a good time to talk because he's in that state. But I know that it's hard, and I know even for myself, I've been doing a lot of creative writing. I've started to add chapters to the book that I've been working on for the last 2 years, but I've been actually contributing to the meat and potatoes of that actual project. And it takes a lot of
it's a muscle.
It is muscle. It takes focus, and it also takes talking to yourself to the point where you're like, I legitimately belong doing this. And
right.
I don't need it to be. I'm not Homer writing the Odyssey. Let me just have fun and play and see what comes out. So from that point of curiosity, created a ton of content.
I told myself, I said, listen, I'll have your back for a month. If you get any heat for not having something done by this time, with some of the things that we have, some of the cases got kind of pushed to the side while we finished something else, and they weren't emergencies. I was like, we're going to handle everything. And I'll take the heat for you. So I'm talking to myself. I'm like, I got your, I have your back. I have your back. We're going to do this right. We're going to learn how to do this in excellence. And I see you working. I see what's happened over the last 3 weeks. Let's build on this. So if someone comes up and it gives you an issue, we're gonna manage our expectations to the best thing as possible. But I promise you that in a month to 6 weeks, that backlog will be done, and then you'll be ahead of the game. And then from that space, if there's a day that you have 3 hours worth of work and that's it, go to work for 3 hours and go to the beach. Promise. But for now, let's get this stuff back, because some of the conversations oh my God, I got this. And nothing gets done It's now the next day, and you got this, and you got this, and you got this, and
Right,
you got this.
because the energy is being spent on the hysteria of, I got this, I got this, I got this, instead of taking the chunk out of the elephant one bite at a time. And that's the way only anything gets done ever. I mean, we work on different projects because I work in a different capacity at the law firm. I have the pleasure of seeing the tail end work, which is so amazing, and it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed reading the things that came through this week. But even in the projects that I'm working on, which are, like putting our books in excellence and having, like, I think if I died, people need to know what's going on here. So let me make it beautiful that, like, anyone could know what's going on. So those projects are really difficult because I always told myself since I was younger, I'm not good at numbers. Nonsense. Of course I am. 1 + 1 = 2. And if certain things don't add up and whatever, what it's given me though is the confidence to keep going. I told you I was working on a letter today, and I had to add the value, or the more or less estimated value of the cases that we're involved in, and the number was absolutely astronomical. And I laughed to myself, like, at first the thought was like, who do we think we are? This is ridiculous. And then in 2 seconds later, I was like, this is awesome. Who do we think we are indeed? This is amazing. Like, wow. And it really gave me a different perspective on, but it is, Jay, like all of us are growing and doing different things. I came from a background that required completely different skills than I need now. Completely different skills. And giving myself the patience, the time, and the space, but also giving myself the self-expectation, like, you got more in that tank. Come on. You can do this. Make that phone call. Make that extra phone call. Talk to so-and-so. Every day I have different goals that I meet to push myself just a little extra, to do like an extra rep or whatever. And the same thing, it was really hard for me to get back into my 5 a.m. club thing, but I run my routine. I do my exercise, I do my meditation and journaling, and then I read. That's my major hour of power. It goes a little bit over than just the hour, but it's made a huge difference on the way I see life.
It wasn't in Goggins' book, but it was in, I think it was Jacko's book. He's another Navy SEAL.
Oh, yeah. He's awesome, too.
And he has a book called Extreme Ownership. And,
yes.
And in his book, he writes about this SEAL team, boat team that was in the BUDS training. Mm-hmm. And he says that this was the slowest boat, whatever boat it was, but they had a number for it. And he said they made the guys, at the end of the day, after everything they've been through, do more calisthenics, more exercises. Yep. And eventually, they started getting stronger. And they get stronger, and they got stronger to the point where they were the number one team.
I can imagine.
So my connection to that was, okay, this is not going to happen overnight. I am not going to go from here to there. This is a journey, okay? Just like I know that the exercises that I'm doing and the workouts that I'm doing, it took a year and a half for me to be able to do a 1 hour workout the way that I work out, and as intense it is with the circuits that I create. That didn't happen overnight. But I said the same thing.
You would have died your first time out if you did it.
The same thing now is looking at my work, and saying the same thing. Okay, this is the circuit that I'm doing today. When it's done, it's done. I walk out and I'm finished with it. But I don't stop until it's finished. So if that is 3 to 5 hours, it's 3 to 5 hours, and that's a good day for me. Because in the rest, if it's phone calls, it's whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because these are the
well,
these
there are a lot
things.
of interruptions also because you're in a position where you're relied upon for answers. As much as I can do, if a legal answer comes up, and I do handle the clients for the most part, that doesn't have to do with the legato, briefing them, whatever, talking to them, doing a lot of different other things that you don't have time to do because that's my job. But if I have a legal question, I can't answer that. Not legally, I can't answer it, and genuinely, I can't answer it. So,
and I've stopped.
You're relied upon for a lot of answers.
And part of the things that we were talking about earlier about that mind that talks to me, I become so self-righteous about I can't take it. Why does everybody rely on me? Do I have to do everything myself? When I'm hearing that right now, that's the other practice that I'm doing that no one sees necessarily, but I know that it's going on.
I know that it's going
constantly,
on.
Constantly. I am shifting out of that and saying, no, I'm not talking. And if I can't handle it, if I'm around you and I'm like, and I know that there's something come up for me, I walk away. And I can't explain that to you. I'm not going to try. I'm going to say there's something firing up here right now. And for me, instead of going down the road, which goes into a hypnotic rhythm of da-da-da-da-da, why me? And then the story starts to circle back and it starts to make more sense. And then it's like this. And then all of a sudden, I'm the victim of my own story and no one gets me. And I have to do everything myself. And my God, it's all them. Mm-hmm. If I hear myself saying it's all them, whoever those people are, it's nonsense. It's the same nonsense that wants to tell me that it's okay for me to go back to sleep after I wake up. Yeah. It's okay for me not to make my bed. It's okay for me to walk past a dish without cleaning the dish. Right. All of that stuff, maybe for some other people, that was something that's normal for them. It's not normal for me. And I wanted to get into this about my health. And we could do it now. We can do it after.
Let's do it now. We'll take a short break and then we'll be back.
Okay.
With everybody.
We'll be right back after this, and this is good. You stick around.
Yeah, stick around.
Farrow Law Firm, standing up to corporate bullies, using innovative, aggressive, and effective strategies to resolve disputes effectively and timely. Contact us at 954-252-9818, online at farrowlawfirm.com, and on Facebook at Farrow Law Firm. We look forward to being of service to you.
You've been listening to the Momentum Mindset Show
with Jay and Janine. Give us a call at 888-565-1470. And now back to the show.
Welcome back to the Momentum Mindset Show.
Welcome back, everybody.
We're getting into the holidays. It's just amazing, and the traffic has shifted around.
It has.
And this time of the year has so many different important dates for me, and the first of which is the beginning of November, because the last time that I was sick in November is 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
3 years ago. And it's funny, I was in a coma for 5 days, and it's funny now.
You came out on the 11th.
Yeah, but I came out of the hospital. Yeah. I came out of the hospital on the 11th, but I woke up as like Trump was winning the presidency, but anyways, the beginning of November. And so I went back to my doctor that's been supporting me through the this process this week. And I love seeing him because he was the first guy. I didn't even know it at the time, but he was my first teammate. Because when I got out of the hospital, I had a follow-up appointment with him, and he was part of the team that helped save my life. And I went to him, and he's like, Jay, he's like, why are you here? I don't think he expected me to show up, to be honest with you. I don't think that he expected me to show up at that appointment, because it was a clinical appointment, wasn't in the hospital, and who knows? I mean, I didn't exactly have a good track record to that point, with actually.
You mean back then?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. True. Ooh, yeah.
And so he's like, well, why are you here? And I said, doctor, I'm here so you can show me how to save my own life. And I think that caught him. He's like, all right, here's the deal. This is what you're going to need to do. And he laid it out for me, and this is a rigorous thing from diet and exercise and everything else. He's like, I'll tell you what, if down the road you need anything, if you need a liver transplant, I'll be your advocate. And then he's like, and we shook on it. He's like, but you got to hold your end of the deal. And there's no second chances, and this is it. And at the time, I had just gotten the news that I had probably 3 to 6 months to live. So this is the first time someone actually gave me a little bit of hope or a roadmap. Like, hey, this is, and maybe the roadmap gave me hope. I maybe there's a little bit of knowing someone's on your team, and then knowing that there's a roadmap. And over the time, I did exactly what he told me to do. Mm-hmm. And now I go to see him, and he didn't recognize me like a short time ago. Mm. And so I'm in his office, and I told him this. I said, I want you to understand that it doesn't get any easier. Like something what you said about David Goggins is like, and this other person
said that, or
right?
Ed Milet.
right? That it's not going to get any easier. I said every single day I have to do what I did yesterday to keep myself in the mindset of moving forward. And it doesn't take me that long to get off the road and go. My mindset goes into a completely different direction. I said if I'm not in the gym for a couple of days, let alone a couple of weeks, I mean, I go and I crash down. I said there's not that yesterday I don't get credit for yesterday. And so when I do everything that I do in my life, from my journaling, the talking, the personal development, the therapy, all of these things, the readings, I do that. And I do that for keeping what I have today in this moment. And he said, Jay, he's like, I treated like a couple hundred people in the last number of years that have had and are going through what you're going through. Right now, I think I have about 100 of them. And out of the 100, you're the only one that survived. Like, you're the only one that has recovered.
Thriving.
Not thriving.
That
has recovered from what your medical condition was.
It's an absolute
You're
miracle.
the only one that has done that in the last 3 years of all the people that I have. And I got chills, and he started to tear up too. And it was like a really powerful moment, because it was a joy for him to see. And also, I think he was sad because he knows that it's possible.
And so many people elect not to do it.
And so many people elect not to take the extreme measures that it's going to take to save their life. So when he told me that, the next morning, I celebrated myself. I was coming up from Miami. I was going to the gym, and I was thinking about, Jay, you climbed Mount Everest and you missed it. You climbed Mount Everest. You did what you were uncommon amongst uncommon men. You actually did something. And you got to this level, right?
Right.
So I'm really excited about myself. And so last night I had coffee with Janine Robledo, and she was talking to me about these actors that were on stage at her show, and then that there's another level above that they're they're aspiring to, but they're not there yet. And she shared, remember, with her what goes on with her and her struggles and her anxiety, and how she went from living in a room in her parents' house to going up to New York and following her dream.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me that's like, she said the same thing to me. She's like, my professionals that I've been working with told me the same thing. Nobody recovers from what she had.
Yes.
And now here she is putting a show on Broadway. And I said to her, yes. Maybe there's a handful of the people like you and the handful of people like me. But then there's the one. There's the next level to that. And I said, and I connected, I said, that is where I'm going with my speaking, with my law firm, with my practice, because my purpose to enroll people to use my gifts, talents, and experiences to enroll people to the possibilities in their life, that purpose I'm serving everywhere. But I thought to myself, it's now time, and I'm now ready. And it's not like I'm waking up and I'm putting in the work to do it. I have seen the man that Jay Farrow wants to step into those shoes, and I wrote about this the other night, about stepping into those shoes.
Yes.
And I see what that is. I see those shoes. I see the awesomeness of it, and I see also the suffering, the work that it's going to take for me to get there.
The realness, because what people don't understand in personal development, and I didn't understand for a while. As you grow in a human being, there's always more. In other words, you have more blind spots than you ever anticipated. You have more lack of awareness than you ever thought you did. There's always more. Like, as much as you learn, there's more evolution always. And as you expand, it's like your heart or your soul or whatever it is, your mind, it asks you to grow. And so what's painful, I think, or can be challenging, is that, first of all, you're putting in all this work and people are expecting some sort of, like, you used to call it a parade all the time, like, yay, parade, or that your life is going to be suddenly smooth sailing. It's not like that all the time. We all have our moments of, like, incredible grace and beauty and amazing, where you realize in that culmination of that moment that it's all worth it. But it's not like that every single day. You're still lifing. You're still a human being. You're still undoing, in your case, 40-something years of a way of thinking. You, from a very little child, you learn to blame and vilify other people. This was your defense mechanism. As mine, I have my own defense mechanism. Everybody does. So we're constantly bumping up against that. And we're constantly needing to, if we want to get to the next level, to really be curious about who we really are, we've got to look at those things and we've got to push past them. And it takes a lot of work. And most people are unwilling to do it because it's uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable. When you look in the mirror and you realize, oh my God, I've been hiding. Oh my God, I haven't told the truth on my heart. First of all, I was so disconnected with myself. I had no idea even what the truth was. This is the first, like to not even know really who you are. We want to connect with other people, but we don't even want to connect with ourselves. And to go through that, most people are not even aware that it's a thing. Look, I was a psych and philosophy major. I grew up in this realm. I knew about personal development when I was in my teens. Like, it's been something that's been in my space, but I didn't ever really know or understand, and I'm still understanding and getting to know every day the depth of what it is and how you're scratching the surface. I have so many blind spots. I don't know. I could be showing up one way and thinking I'm doing, but maybe I'm not. So, like, we're always constantly learning and growing, and new things come into our space. And I think a lot of people are afraid of that level of, because it's a lot. It takes a lot of humility to look at yourself and say,
it's a lot.
I've been screwing up.
It's a lot. And when I'm stepping into this as I am, I'm doing it to clean the inside of my bowl, become my own hero. And what I notice is that my entire environment, not to say that you're working out again because you see me working out again.
No. In fact, actually, you kind of like do the opposite for me.
Right.
In a way. But for me, because I get to look at how rebellious I am. Like, that's retarded. You should inspire me. But I resist it.
But what I'm saying is, and just like when you wrote that sign, because that's your context. Mm-hmm. My context is I'm walking out of that meeting, I was like, I didn't really walk in with the mindset that I was going to go nail this. And I walked in with the mindset that this is I'm going to meet with a couple of the people, and then they're going to meet with their people.
So let's tell the story, because I think it's kind of cool, because Jay went to visit a new client today, and he said, you know how it goes with the clients, sometimes whatever. And I'm not expecting that they're going to remunerate us today on anything. So I just shared with you guys, I'm really rebellious. So we hung up the phone, and I was like, I don't know. Let's see about that. So Jay has always inspired me to do the signs. That's one thing I've never had any resistance with.
I did a sign this morning.
And so I made a sign for us, and he called me up and said, well, guess what? We got a little something from the client today. And I was like, thank you, Lord Jesus, thank you so much. And it's kind of those things that you get into, but we have different ways of thinking, and I think it's actually really supportive in many ways, because I do learn a lot from you when I allow myself and I'm not resisting, and then I witness how maybe your glass half empty actually inspires me to fill it right up. It's kind of like a play on energy, but this journey it's beautiful, but it's difficult.
Some months ago, whatever happened at the end of today, and what goes on, I mean, we would have walked in with a different energy. And I'm telling you, there's no replacement for what I do in the gym. I mean, as far as how it allows my brain to think.
For you, it's medicine.
It's not even think. It allows my brain not to go there. It allows my brain not to start spinning and this and that and the story and everything else, because my inner lawyer wants to argue against my greatness.
Yeah.
It wants to argue against my greater purpose, because it knows that is hard work.
No, and then it wants to vilify everyone around you who actually supports you and is your team. So it does even more injury, actually.
But
it's not just to yourself.
I think if you show up,
it goes out to other people as well.
I think that if you show up and you continue to show up, and you continue to show up in a way that you become uncommon amongst uncommon men, you actually go to a level that you never thought was possible. I do want to tell this story. So, and this was from Goggins too, and so he was saying he had to lose 100 pounds to become this Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
Then he had to learn that he had to pass that test. He had to get through 3, not just 1, but 3 hell weeks in a year and a half because of an injury and because of a couple of different things that happened to him during the training. Then, so he becomes a Navy SEAL. And then he becomes the bodyguard for the Iraqi president. He runs 8 100 marathons in 8 consecutive weekends. He runs this ultra marathon of 130 miles. I mean, he's done all of these things. He's got the pull-up record of over 4,000 pull-ups in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. So
which he attempted 3 separate times.
So
he's an amazing person.
But what he said was,
insanity.
when he said I was 300 pounds, and when I was 300 pounds, I was working at that job making $1,000 a month. He said that he thought he was doing okay. He thought he was trying.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when he said, if I would have gone up and died, one night on a freak accident and gone up to heaven and God's like looking at my chart, he's like, he pulls my chart and God knows everything. God's like, okay, Goggins, David, Navy SEAL. Mind you, he died at 300 pounds. He didn't go to Navy SEAL training, but God's looking at his sheet and he's like, David Goggins, Navy SEAL, ran 100 mile marathons, the pull-up record for 4,000 pull-ups in 24 hours.
Inspired millions of people.
Inspired millions of people. Wrote this book, and he's like, wait, that's not me. That's not. And God's like, no, that's who you were. That's who you should have been.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's who you should have been if you tried.
I heard this week too, but in another.
And then he says, and this is this part I love. He's like, I want to get to the point when I die and I go up there and he checks my chart and we're going over it. He's like, David Goggins, Navy SEAL, yeah. Ran all these marathons, yeah. Inspired millions of people, yeah. Pull-up record, yeah. And God starts reading looking at some. Wait a second. What's all this stuff? I don't know anything about this stuff.
He wants to exceed God's expectations.
He wants to do stuff that God didn't even think would be on his piece of paper and on his chart. And that's what I'm thinking about. It's like I am at the point where I need to become that, the Navy SEAL, do all those things. But eventually, I want to do those things that God didn't even think that it was possible. Didn't put it on my chart. Mm-hmm. Didn't put it on my chart. I can't imagine the feeling sitting in that chair, getting that kind of acknowledgement, because that I see that vision of myself. I see powerful. That vision of supporting other human beings, inspiring them, because I have climbed the Mount Everest.
Yes, you have.
I didn't, and I missed it.
You did miss it. You're right. You missed it. Ed Milet talks about the fact that what most people who achieve what you've achieved completely discount themselves, don't even give themselves enough credit for it. He said when he talks about resilience, he says that you don't understand that just showing up day after day after day after day and not quitting is the number one key to success. And most people just take it for granted when in fact it's the number one thing you need to have going for you. So I would say absolutely. And, even to myself, we've had completely different journeys, although we've walked for several years together. One of the things that I'm most proud of is I don't give up. I should. Sometimes I think people really think I'm nuts for certain things, but I know in my heart, I have that vision. I'm super committed to that vision. And it's like the more time wears on, even through the difficulty, I just get more I just really understand more and more who I am and who I'm choosing to be, which is someone who doesn't give up. I'm still swinging at that piñata. And we will get that candy.
I like the piñata
and
thing.
It's kind of an interesting thing. But Ed Milet was talking about that too this week on how he's chasing the man that God expected him to be and also is willing to surpass it. So this is really a common trait on the exceptional. which really, Jay, we've discussed in terms of your health, you are a medical miracle. No one can explain your recovery. It's really insanity. And for you, the exercise in the gym is your medicine. I know that I'm going to get a completely different Jay when you work out as opposed to when you don't. It's two entirely different human beings. And even for me, it's not my favorite thing at all. But I have to tell you, this week, I have felt better. But more than that, physically, I'm in pain because I'm still injured, whatever. I've got to go back to physical therapy, but I'm still doing it because my brain needs the extra oxygen for sure. I need to release tension. And my body loves the movement somehow, some way. And it's making me feel proud of me. Like I notice I'm sitting taller this week. I'm less uncomfortable because I'm already a little less bloated. So it makes me happy.
Right.
Because also for me, the weight, what am I hiding? This is a deeper conversation for me. So stay tuned, y'all.
Listen, we'll be back next week. Thanks for joining us. And
thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
Long weekend. Enjoy it.
Yes. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you to all of the veterans who've sacrificed for us.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Momentum Mindset Show. For your hosts, Jay and Janine, we'll see you here next week. Thank you for being real, authentic, and honest.
If you'd like to reach us, please contact us on our Facebook page, The Momentum Mindset Show, or on our office phone line, which is 954-559-6987.
We are stronger together.
And remember, keep going.